You're too sensitive. At some point in your life, someone probably said those words to you. Maybe it happened during an argument when you started to cry. Maybe a teacher said it after criticism hit you harder than expected. Maybe friends told you to stop overreacting. And after hearing it enough times, something slowly starts to change inside you. You begin to believe that the way you feel is somehow wrong. So you try to fix it. You hide your emotions. You pretend things don't bother you. You force yourself to act tougher than you actually feel. But what if the problem isn't that you feel too much? What if your brain was never meant to experience the world the same way as everyone else? For decades, psychologists have been studying people like this, and what they discovered changes the way we understand sensitivity. For a small percentage of people, this intensity isn't a flaw at all. It's a biological trait, a different way the brain processes emotion, environment, and human connection. In this video, we're going to explore the science behind this trait, why some people experience life more deeply than others, and why the very thing you were told to fix might actually be your greatest strength. To understand sensitivity, we first need to understand something about the brain. Your brain isn't just a personality, it's a processing system. And for some people, that system works a little differently. Think of two computers. Both can open the same file, both can run the same program, but one of them processes far more information at the same time. On the surface, that computer might even appear slower, but in reality, it's doing something else entirely. It's analyzing the data much more deeply. Many psychologists believe highly sensitive people process the world in a very similar way. Their brains don't just notice obvious information. They absorb subtle signals most people completely miss. A small change in someone's tone, a brief facial expression, the emotional atmosphere in a room. Things that seem invisible to others can feel extremely clear to them. So when someone says you're overreacting, something else may actually be happening. You might simply be reacting to information others never even noticed. But this deeper processing creates another challenge. Sensitive brains actually take in far more information than most people realize, and that can create a hidden problem: overload. Imagine your mind like a browser with too many tabs open. Most people might have 5 or 6 tabs running, but sensitive people might have 20 open at the same time, each tab holding something different: sounds in the environment, emotions in the room, memories triggered by conversations, possible outcomes of decisions, all of it running at once. And when the brain receives that much stimulation, it naturally tries to protect itself. That's why sensitive people often feel the need to slow things down, to step away from crowds, to spend time alone, to sit quietly after emotional experiences. It's not weakness, it's simply the brain recovering after processing far more information than most people realize. But sensitivity doesn't only come with challenges, it also creates something powerful: empathy. Most people can recognize when someone else is sad, but highly sensitive people often experience something deeper. They don't just observe emotions, they feel echoes of them inside themselves. When someone nearby is anxious, they might feel tension in their own body. When someone is joyful, that energy spreads through them just as strongly, because their brains are constantly reading emotional signals. And this is why sensitive people often become things the world desperately needs: great listeners, supportive friends, compassionate leaders, creative storytellers. They understand emotional experiences at a depth many people never reach. But this ability also explains something else: why negativity around them can feel so exhausting. Because they're not just witnessing emotions, they're absorbing the emotional atmosphere around them. Another trait often connected with sensitivity is something many people misunderstand: deep thinking. In everyday life, it often gets labeled as something negative: overthinking. But psychology suggests something very different. Sensitive minds tend to process situations much more deeply before acting. They think about consequences. They replay conversations in their heads. They search for the meaning behind words, tone, and behavior. From the outside, this can look like hesitation, but inside the mind, something much more complex is happening. The brain is running a detailed evaluation of the situation, and this ability can lead to powerful strengths, strategic thinking, creativity, strong intuition, careful, thoughtful decision-making. In fact, many artists, writers, philosophers, and innovators throughout history showed traits linked to high sensitivity. Their minds simply explored ideas in greater depth than most people ever do.
At this point, an interesting question appears. If sensitivity can sometimes feel stressful, why didn't evolution remove it? In evolutionary psychology, traits usually survive for a reason, because at some point they helped our ancestors survive. And sensitivity may have played a very important role. In early human communities, not everyone had the same strengths. Some people were bold and action-oriented. They hunted, they explored, they took risks. But others were more observant. They noticed subtle environmental changes. They sensed tension between people in the group. They detected possible danger long before it became obvious. In many ways, sensitive individuals acted like early warning systems. Their awareness helped communities slow down, notice important signals, and avoid unnecessary risks. Without that balance, groups might have acted too quickly or missed dangers hiding in plain sight. Different kinds of minds created different advantages, and together, those differences helped humans survive. But there's another reason sensitive people often struggle today. The modern world is built very differently from the environments our brains evolved in. Everything around us is louder, faster, more stimulating, and constantly connected. Notifications buzzing on our phones, crowded public spaces, an endless stream of information competing for attention. For a nervous system that responds deeply to stimuli, this can become overwhelming very quickly. It's a bit like placing a delicate instrument inside a noisy factory. The instrument isn't broken, it's simply in the wrong environment. And when sensitive people are able to shape their surroundings differently, something interesting happens. Their strengths begin to appear more clearly. They often thrive in environments that include quiet spaces, meaningful conversations, creative expressions, and time alone to recharge their minds. When those conditions exist, sensitivity stops feeling like a burden and starts revealing its real value. There's another place where this trait often appears: creativity. Many artists, writers, and creators share something in common. They notice details that most people pass by without seeing: a small change in lighting, a quiet emotional moment between two people, a hidden pattern in the way someone speaks or behaves. Sensitive individuals often pick up on these details automatically. Their minds connect emotions, memories, and ideas in ways that feel almost instinctive, and this ability can turn ordinary experiences into something meaningful. Stories, music, art, or deep insights about human nature. What feels like emotional intensity in everyday life can become something powerful in the creative world, a source of inspiration, a kind of creative fuel. The biggest challenge for sensitive people isn't their brain, it's the belief that something is wrong with them. In a world that often celebrates toughness and emotional distance, sensitivity can easily feel like a disadvantage. But once you begin to understand how your mind actually works, something important shifts. You stop trying to force yourself into a personality that was never yours. Instead, you start learning how to work with your nature rather than against it. You learn how to protect your energy, how to set clear boundaries, how to choose environments that support your mind instead of draining it, how to limit constant stimulation, and how to surround yourself with people who appreciate depth instead of avoiding it. When sensitive individuals begin building lives that truly support their nature, something remarkable happens. Their insight becomes clearer, their compassion grows stronger, and their creativity begins to flourish. So, if you've spent your life hearing that you feel too much, consider another possibility. Your mind isn't broken, it's simply tuned differently. In a world that often rushes past emotions, subtle signals, and deeper meaning, people who notice those things are incredibly valuable. Sensitivity doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it simply means you're paying attention to parts of reality that others overlook. And when that awareness is understood and protected, it can become one of the most powerful traits a person can have. If this video helped you understand your mind a little bit better, consider subscribing to the channel. This space is for people who are curious about psychology, human behavior, and the hidden patterns behind the way we think and feel. And if this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'd really like to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching. And remember, understanding your mind is the first step to understanding your life. I'll see you in the next video.